Hey everyone, Michelle here, and welcome to 113 Wright Way. This build is from The Sims 2. It was original to the game, and here we are taking a look at what we have here. I've definitely made some changes because I played The Sims 2 when I was much younger. Some things are original, some things are not. Explains why some of the furniture might look a little out of place. So we're basically just taking a look here to see how the original build looked, and of course in order to make sure I wasn't adding anything that wasn't original, I did take a look online at some photos and videos there to see and compare what was original and what was not, because there definitely were not two desks and two computers and super cute lanterns, might I add, by the way, that I miss very much. I would love to see those in The Sims 4, but that's what makes The Sims 2 The Sims 2 and why I keep coming back. Furniture was fantastic. This room here, I had definitely changed. This was for a teenager, and I wanted to make sure it was super, super cool. And now we're taking a look at the layout of each story of the building. And now we're stepping into Sims 4. I'm just figuring out the spacing from the front of the lot, using floor tiles to figure out where the bridge is going to sit and where the stairs will sit from that bridge. And of course, I miss the fact that bridges could go over water in The Sims 2. You cannot do that in The Sims 4, so I had to do some editing to make it kind of look like the bridge was going over the water, in fact, when it can't. That would be a wonderful thing to have again. But here we are. Now we're looking to see how the columns are going to place in The Sims 2. Another difference, you can place the columns in the middle of each grid piece, where in The Sims 4 they have to sit in the corners of each grid square. So I had to make some, design choices and alter it, since it wasn't going to be able to be exactly the same as the Sims 2 version, and that's expected. We're just adding on rooms and spacing things out, and here you can see, the way I build, where I start, and kind of keep editing along the way. My favorite thing to do in The Sims 2, back when that was new in the world, I would go online and see what other people had built, and I would take those images of like the floor plans from above, and I would copy them into the game square by square on the grid, and I really enjoyed doing that because I was able to play in the build portion of the game even more than I normally would, because I do love building in The Sims, but it just gave me something that I can just methodically follow rather than having to be super creative all the time. I think my favorite thing to do in build is to place furniture and figure out where I want to place the furniture, and working on the layout. So coming up with like where I always want to put walls and, oh gosh, landscaping, that I'm never good at that. If the land is already landscaped, then I can work with that sometimes, but I think I was a lot more creative when I was younger about, when The Sims 2 was out, and now we're already on to The Sims 4. So now we have the exchange, and you just download what somebody has built, and you don't necessarily need to be copying it from images online just so you could have it too. It's so much easier. So now, if I'll download somebody's awesome work and alter it a little bit, maybe to fit the Sims family that I'm making, maybe change the theming on furniture, things like that, or leave it as is and just have fun with it. It's awesome that The Sims 4 is so easy to maneuver in that sense. You can share your work and make it your own with someone else's, and they change it and then you change it, and it's just kind of fun to see what people do. So here we're adding in around the pool, some more rooms. This is probably one of my favorite lots in The Sims 2. I had so much fun playing with it. It's just so unique, and there's so many nooks and crannies to put things, and I think in some ways The Sims 4 just makes it better. Like, it just feels completely different than it does in The Sims 2, but of course for nostalgic reasons The Sims 2 version will be my favorite. It just looks nicer, of course, with The Sims 4 graphics. In the Sims 2 version, they have 2 different colored stairs here, but you can't do that in The Sims 4 without there being extra railings. So I decided to not put the 2 different colored stairs because I didn't want to have extra railings. Sometimes when I'm building, like just focus on the floor and the walls and get the layout. And then other times it's helpful to like add in the doorways or pieces of furniture, windows, etc. to kind of help make sure I'm spacing everything out just right. So as soon as I saw that the Courtyard Oasis Kit was coming out, I immediately thought of this slot in The Sims 2, and I was like, okay, definitely going to buy this pack and work on building this. And it's taken me a little while to build it because it's a very large build, as I've said, and then the video recording, like, was kind of it was a learning experience because I have not done that before. I have not ever tried to, well, I kind of have tried. I have done some recordings, but I've never like tried to do the cool camera movements before. So that was a learning curve. And then working on like editing this. I'm just kind of doing it because I want to be creative and do some video editing. I used to do that in college for school, and then I kind of just got rusty on everything. And it's like, okay, let's start working on this again and see what we can do, and just be excited to share my builds and my thoughts and things like that. I did eventually realize that there needed to be more space around that hot tub, by the way, and basically that whole area up there in the top right needed to be moved in a different way to the left, and spacing was a little off, and that happens sometimes when you're trying to copy a build. You're like, oh wait, I didn't quite catch this, and you just make your edits, and it's so much easier to make those edits in The Sims 4. Oh my gosh, when I would make that kind of mistake in The Sims 2, it took forever. So I definitely love that about The Sims 4. And getting some landscaping in here, putting some chairs that totally don't belong so that I remember for sure to go back and change those. I'm adding some plants in. Some things I'm not 100% sure if, like, the photos I was looking at online were in fact exactly original. But I did my best, and you know what? In the end, it's my version of the build with the new kit items and influences and stuff like that. Those green tiles I have over there are just to help with spacing, because since I can't see where the columns are supposed to actually sit, compared to the Sims 2 one. That kind of just helps me make sure I'm spacing it right. And then I'm deciding, what floor tile looks most like the Sims 2 one. Some of the tiles that I had in my build I thought were original and were not, so that can change, and some definitely do. Trying to figure out like how I want to do certain walls, and then realized I didn't need to do it that way, so let me fix that. That was a piece that I did cut out with some like trial and error here and there. So you didn't have to watch that. Let's see. More tiles. Don't you just love playing The Sims? I started with Sims 1, I believe was the first one I played, because it's kind of fuzzy for me. I'm pretty sure that's what I played first. I was at my friend's house who lived down the street from me, and her father worked for EA at the time. And I that didn't mean anything to me when I was young, and now it's like, oh, that's really cool. I was in middle school at the time, yeah, and she invited me over to play it, and so yeah, I definitely played the Sims 2, Sims 1 for the original Sims, just Sims, there first, and I loved it so much, playing with her, and learning about the Rosebud sheet, and oh my gosh, it's all coming back to me just thinking about this right now. So much so that I had to get it for myself, and I played so much of it, and I had, all this work done, and all these houses I built, and families that I played, and then it just kind of, over time, you switch computers, and thought I had backed up, and went to go and check on it, years later, and then found out that none of it actually was moved to the new computer, and lost everything. And this actually happened twice. So like, let's say over 8 years, it happened twice, and I was like, well, okay. So I've just kind of been like, I don't know if I want to play The Sims, but it's like, it's such a headache trying to get it to work on newer computers, and it was a bit of work just trying to get Sims 2 to work. I moved away from, used to live in California, now I'm in New York, and decided not to bring my desktop PC and just my laptop, and I've never played Sims like on a laptop much, and some learning curves there with Sims 2, because I've always played on desktops. So maybe at some point I'll get a desktop again in the future. I just didn't want anything to happen to it in the move, so I figured it was safest with my parents, to be honest. But I think not too long after playing the original Sims is when The Sims 2 was starting to be marketed to come out. The last Sims game I got was, I think it was Making Magic, and it was like a thicker CD case. Oh my gosh. Sounding so old. When you'd put games into your computer, they weren't from the internet, in your little disk drive. But on the back of it, it had an advertising for The Sims 2. And oh man, as soon as that came out, I asked my parents to get it for me, and I played the living daylights out of that. Oh my gosh. If there was a way that they had it so they would, because now they can tell you how many hours you've played. I had that back then, I think it would have scared me. It would have been a lot of hours. As I had a lot of free time, I was introverted, I didn't play sports. I had friends, of course, and I'd do things, and we'd go out and have fun, and my parents and I would go on vacations to Disneyland all the time and stuff like that. But I definitely used most of my free time to either play The Sims or to play with my dog, Molly. my cute golden retriever mix. Gosh, I fell in love with that game, and I still am, and here I am building a house that was in it. So there you go. Man, so much nostalgia. And then, of course, there's Sims 3. I, of course, played Sims 3. I am dealing with some issues with that, with switching computers. None of the items that I purchased from the website at the time are going into the game. Like, I have the files, they just won't go into the game. And I'm just not in the mood to deal with trying to get help at the moment. So, and it's I was trying to figure this out last year because I knew it was going to be moving. So I was trying to get everything onto the laptop and making sure it worked. And I just couldn't figure it out. And I could only do so much with the move coming. So, is what it is. I'm sure I'll figure it out eventually, or maybe someone will give me some help on that or advice. But I just couldn't figure out why the clothing items and shoes and worlds, just none of it was really working 100%. And then, of course, when Sims 4 came out and Origin came out, it changed a lot. Like, the way things were, my account changed, passwords changed, so I don't know if that makes a difference. If it was all the same, like, would I be able to get into my original Sims 3 account and re-download everything and then work? I vaguely remember there was like an update that said if you do this update, like nothing you have is going to work anymore, and I never did the update, and I'm pretty sure that might be why it's not working. But I don't want to sit there and spend like hundreds and hundreds of dollars rebuying everything. So basically just have the base game of Sims 3 with, well, to me it's like base game, expansion packs, etc. None of the extra stuff that I bought. And that's okay. At least for now. And then I'm making some editing changes here, changing colors, realizing maybe I want it to look a little bit more like the original rather than too much green and blue tiles. I could have done the same with the pool, but I'm like, yeah, but the new kit, like, let's use it and stuff like that. So, alright, I think we're getting to the point where I start furnishing, so that's like fully just focusing on furnishing. Alright, so let's see what lawn chair or, outdoor seating do I want to pick, and work on some more landscaping here and there. I kind of do bounce around a lot. I'll be like, oh, I gotta do this. Okay, I'll go do that. And it's like, wait, I was doing something else, and it's like, if I don't do it now, I'm not gonna remember to do it. And so I go bounce over there and do it and come back to what I was doing. I'm trying to figure out what table looks most like the one in The Sims 2. If you want to compare, you can go back to the beginning of this video. Or just stay here and keep watching. I'm having fun just watching my own speed build. It's kind of relaxing. A lot of times I'll put items as placeholders. I think like, oh, I'm not going to use that for sure. I'm going to change it out, and I will. Sometimes I'll pick something and go, oh yeah, that's the right thing, and then I'll go, you know what? No, it's not, and change it to something else. Sometimes like deciding to change the wall color, which I will eventually do, just makes a huge difference in like the way something else looks. I was trying to get around the way the columns work, just trying to make them look better, because of those thick second, like the top half of them, and I didn't want to increase the wall height for this because The Sims 2 didn't have that for this build or in general. Like, geez, I can't even remember. I need to play The Sims 2 more. I have more free time again still, so I'm gonna try to work on that. I noticed that there was a little lag when I was doing recording with The Sims 2, so I need to look into that to see if that's something I can fix. I think I can. It took me a while to fix like terrain and shadows under the Sims, and oh my god, there were so many annoying things to deal with. Because I think because of, it's like, oh, this is a laptop, I have to run on like the lowest of everything, even though I can do it, even though the computer can do it all. The computer is like strong enough to run CAD. And then some. So it's just more of like making sure I'm not doing the wrong thing and hurting my computer, and then making sure that I'm making the game enjoyable. Because when oh gosh, and the sizing on the computer, that was fun to figure out. It was like so tiny, and in some ways, and too large in other ways. It's like when I had it spaced for the screen size, it was, let's see, it started out as like the basic size. Like you couldn't change it. So I had to learn how to make it so I could have all the screen size options available to me again. Figure out which one worked. Thought I'd figured out which one I liked, then realized, well, then all the Sims were all squished together and looked overly skinny and unnatural. And I'm like, I've played this game so much, I know what, everything's supposed to look like. The shower shouldn't be that skinny, that kind of stuff. So I tried something else, and then it's like, okay, well now like the menu in the bottom left corner is so tiny, I can't even read it. So I found something that kind of sits in the middle where everything looks like it's the right size, and while the menu is a little bit tiny, I can work with that. That's fine. I can at least read it. And I'm trying to figure out plants, by the way, that kind of match The Sims 2. There just wasn't anything, and I didn't want to sit there trying to figure out every single plant and testing them. I just, we'll work with this and come back to it later. Let me tell you, when I say the terrain editing is not my forte, is because The Sims 4 terrain editing just confuses the heck out of me. After Sims 2, and goodness, it's been a bit since I've done Sims 3. I can't even remember, but I just remember Sims 2. It's just so much easier. I felt like I had more control. Yeah, it was maybe a bit more time consuming, but I could get everything exactly where I wanted. So I just really need to practice with terrain editing in The Sims 4. But also, like, none of the land around the lots in The Sims 4 are really, what's a good word, conducive to wanting to play with the terrain. It just doesn't look right on the edge of lots if the terrain is, like, really different. So I tend to just not mess with the terrain. So this one forced me to do so, and that was a good practice. I've done it a little bit, like when it first came out, when we were all very excited for terrain editing, and then it was like, oh, well, this is not what I expected at all. And then lighting, I couldn't get the lights to focus on the trees. Like, oh my gosh, the details in The Sims 2 that, like, don't happen in The Sims 4, but then the details in The Sims 4 that don't happen in The Sims 2. I also miss the fact that Sims 2 was not open world. While that might be, don't freak out at me, but like, I'm one of the ones who does not entirely care for the open world. I loved it in The Sims 3. Sims 4, in The Sims 2, I liked to play every single family. And I didn't like other families changing because I was playing a Sim. I liked the fact that I could play a house, save it, and no other family was affected. Every time I play within the same world in The Sims 4, everyone just I don't know, things are different. Everyone gains a lot of weight because they're overeating or something. And then I have to fight to get them to exercise a lot when I go back to that family. So I have a lot of save files because I just don't like everything changing. You know, relationships changing, people no longer being friends, or, you know, who knows, losing jobs, you know, whatever. Not making enough money for that household through their career. So, but man, The Sims 3 open world was absolutely beautiful. That was fantastic. That was really cool. Yay, finally getting some bathrooms in. Getting some decorations put in. Love this lamp light. Putting the kitchen in. I always found this kitchen to be very interesting and unusual for this build. When I altered the game, or the lot a bit in The Sims 2, I added more counters, because I always felt like there wasn't enough counter space, because in The Sims 2 I think it was like one thing per counter and that was it, and then that counter was taken up. So, and I think I was playing with a fairly large household too in The Sims 2, and those were hard. It was a lot of work, so it's just easier to have more counter space, even if it didn't look quite right. Couldn't find a bed that I particularly liked in this room for a while, and then it happened. Then I found one with a good color. And then I was like, wait, now it doesn't match the armoire, and dresser, armoire. It's too tall to be a dresser. And then what I like to think of as the famous chairs staring out. The one on the very, very top level, it's kind of creepy, so I just pretend it's not there. Because there was no way to get up to it in the Sims 2, so it's just kind of like a random room with a chair. There was an opening in the floor, I believe, but and then these rooms have a Jack and Jill bathroom, which is very interesting for like what seems like two master bedrooms. But it's The Sims. Trying to match items as best I can between the two packs. Tried to add that empty space in the floor with this room. Ended up making an issue with the roof, so I just gave up on that. I mean, it's really not necessary for gameplay anyways. Now we're adding in some little elements here, some more furniture pieces to changing things out, going through decorations and things to do. I mean, I could honestly spend probably another hour just adding items to this build, and just completely not necessary. I did play test. I hope I've found anything that was an issue or didn't work. The main issue that I kept running into was the Windows malfunctioning, which you might have just seen or have been seeing. they just, you can't see through them. It's like window frame, and then instead of glass, it's just whatever wall it is, which tends to be the, I believe it's old. Yeah, see there, that window there on the, it's like, what the heck? So that was the main issue that I kept dealing with. I don't know why that was. I just couldn't figure it out, except maybe there's just too much for this lot to handle. But I have another very, very, I mean, way more stuff to it than this one that I made on my desktop PC, and I would love to share it. I'm just not sure if the laptop can handle it. I'm actually editing this on my Mac, so all these videos. But it is on the exchange, but I would like to make a video of it, so I will try to get some recordings of it and share it, because I'm really proud of it. So that's your teaser there. That's all you get. You have to stay tuned to find out what it is. Just adding some last minute details here. Trying to keep it more interesting. The original build is very simple, so I wanted to add a bit more after playtesting. It just made it more exciting to have more stuff scattered about. But we are almost at the end of this speed build, and I needed to see, I mean, you're basically seeing everything as is at the end, but there are a few minor changes, I believe, and I apologize if any windows aren't fully functioning. Editing or trying to get the video recording that you're going to see in a second was a lot of work, so I'm learning and I'll get better at it. All right, enjoy.